The Amazons. There are many versions of the tales of first contact with the Amazons, dating back to when the Norse made their first landings upon the shores of the New World. The Norse, led by the infamous Losterikson, quickly realised the extent of the riches to be found there, and set to plundering it with all the abandon for which their kind were known. Whilst Losterikson sought to establish the settlement that eventually grew into the colony known as Skeggi, other chieftains led their men south, following the Cactus Coast, past the islands of Yolka and Quetzal, and into the mountain of the river Amazon. Amidst the strangling mangroves, stifling humidity, and coiling vapours, they spied on an island in the midst of the river. Upon its shores reared the indistinct form of a mighty statue, though they could not determine its exact shape. It appeared human and female. The invaders explored no further, for their longship was assailed by a storm of arrows and other, more arcane, projectiles. As men fell, those not killed by their wounds soon fell victim to the terrible effects of the bizarre weapons. The chieftains reluctantly ordered their men back to the sea. As they retreated, it is said that the ship's crews saw behind them a mass of warrior women, stood defiantly upon the shores of their island, intense hatred burning in their eyes. According to the sagas of the Norse, many battles have since been fought between the proud Northmen and the fierce Amazons. Many descriptions of their appearance in society exist, but as ever, most accounts are contradictory. Every account of the Amazons make it clear that they are an overtly warlike people, but there are tales of them finding common cause with others. They appear to have a complex and ritualistic approach to their interactions with the outsiders, and none can be sure whether they will remain on even remotely friendly terms for long. This is particularly evident when it comes to relations with the lizard men. It would appear that the Amazons occupy at least one, and possibly more, sites that outsiders would take for being sacred to the lizard men. The ruins of temples within which unknown lizardmen gods were once worshipped now form the foundations of Amazon settlements. The high priestesses of the Amazonian sisterhood bear items of undoubtedly lizardmen origin, yet the lizardmen make no obvious move to retrieve these. Rather, it appears as if the Amazons are accepted by the mage priests as part of their natural order of things. This is not to suggest, however, that these two parties never come to blows, for it is known that they do. It has even been reported that an Amazonian priestess was encountered by a merchant of the empire adorned with the hide of a white-skinned skink priest. Indication, if any were needed, that conflict exists between the two races. Relations with other races are much simpler. The Norse, upon their first contact with the Amazons, attempted to plunder their treasures, beginning an age of conflict between the two that lasted many centuries. Contact with other races is a similar of nature, and there have been many distinctly unpleasant instances of the warrior women being the targets of raids sponsored by imperial nobles seeking to abduct them and ship them back to the old world as curiosities for the imperial court. But not all contact with other races has been made upon the basis of conflict. On occasion, one or more Amazons have appeared to guide, advise, or even aid an army fighting with Lustria. In most instances, this has taken the form of a priestess lending counsel and magical aid to an army, forming a temporary peace until the battle is resolved. Exactly why they choose to help some armies and not others is an utter mystery, though some believe the Amazons follow some arcane prophecy that leads them to offer assistance in the defeat of certain foes, or the defense of certain sacred sites. Furthermore, there are several instances of priestesses of the Amazonian sisterhood aiding opposing armies. Though the priestesses have not been observed to directly attack one another, they have aided their respective allies in the defeat of their foes. It is possible the priestesses regard such battles as ritual combat, but with the blood of others shed in the place of their own. Perhaps they seek the ruination of both warring armies, guiding each towards the inevitable and mutual destruction.